What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in for the Yom Kippur Devar Torah. On Rosh Hashanah, we talked about how sometimes we strip people of their dignity and treat them as though they aren't our equals. We covered mostly those who work for us. This time, we'll discuss another group of people who we treat as objects. Starting in middle school, teachers began warning my class not to objectify other people. We hear about the objectification of individuals. What is this objectification? It's a fairly long word, but it has a simple meaning. Remember on Rosh Hashanah when we talked about Martin Buber and his I-it, I-thou idea of interacting with other human beings? Objectification is I-itting someone to the extreme. There's a huge difference between finding someone physically attractive and treating them as though their physical appearance is all or most of who they are. You don't have to look too far to see this problem manifest itself in pop culture. TV shows where characters, even the main characters, count their conquests are everywhere. Objectifying is even in the Torah. In Genesis 29:17, the Torah only mentions Jacob's evaluation of Rachel and Leah's physical attractiveness. He meets them, and all we hear about is how beautiful he finds Rachel and something about Leah's sad eyes. We see nothing about how he cared for their personalities, how well they got along as people. What can we learn from this? It's in their Torah. There has to be a lesson to be learned. Perhaps this teaches us why Jacob ended up getting fooled. Remember, he worked 7 years for Lavan, Rachel and Leah's father, worked 7 years for the right to marry Rachel, and yet Lavan had Leah stand in her place at the wedding, hidden by just a veil. Somehow this worked, and Jacob ended up marrying Leah and got tricked and had to work another 7 years to marry Rachel. He clearly only saw these women for their attractiveness, which could be enhanced or changed. If he really knew Rachel, could he have been fooled? So how do we express attraction for someone without objectifying them? Look no further than, spoiler alert, I'm about to talk about The Good Place. I feel like it's been long enough since the show has been out and popular, so if you're just now starting the show, skip the next 3 or so minutes and hurry up, watch the show, and get back. It's fantastic. Anyway, look no further than Eleanor and Chidi on The Good Place. Eleanor and Chidi could not have lived more different lives when they were on Earth, but in the other places, they bring the best out of each other. Eleanor learned to love Chidi for his moral mind and compass, and Chidi loved that she helps him get out of his own head and finally can make decisions for himself. The show depicts a realistic love based on each other's personalities, and though they are physically attracted to each other, they're attracted to so much more. They were able to see each other's inner beauty. This is a powerful lesson we can learn also from our tradition. In the Talmud, in Brachot 5a, we see a story where Rabbi Yochanan gets sick, and Rabbi Elazar goes to comfort him. Rabbi Yochanan, a man known for his beauty, is lying in a dark room. When Rabbi Elazar walks in, Rabbi Yochanan rolls up his sleeve, and we see light coming from his arm. Rabbi Elazar starts crying profusely and exclaiming, "The world is losing so much beauty with the death of Rabbi Yochanan." We know from commentary that no, Rabbi Elazar wasn't crying for the loss of physical beauty. He cried because the world was losing a beautiful soul. When Rabbi Yochanan rolled up his sleeve and a light came through, this is a metaphor that his inner beauty was able to come out and light up the dark room. His renowned physical beauty sat in the dark while his inner beauty illuminated the room. Let's go back to the Torah. Turn to Exodus 20:22. The Israelites are commanded not to build altars, but if they do, to make sure that the stones they use are uncut. It's just you pick up a stone and pile it on top of each other, and that's how the altar is built. You could see this as a divine endorsement of the movie Uncut Gems. That's your prerogative. I see it as a way to teach us how to express attraction for someone else. We can cut and beautify the stones and sand it down, but then we've changed them. we can also do the same for ourselves. What's most important is that we present our true selves, the true uncut stones, on the altar. And on the flip side, we need to make sure that everyone else feels comfortable enough to show their true character, that they don't need to sand themselves down to meet an unrealistic beauty standard that society puts on them. Another important way to have these positive interactions is to consider the language you're using. Do you want to get along with somebody, or do you want to do something to them and act on them, as though they're a target to be acquired or a mission accomplished? Language impacts the way people view themselves and view others, and it can strip them of their dignity. We know this is a bad thing. How do we proceed? An important aspect of these Yamim Noraim is teshuvah. It's not only apologizing for a bad action and repenting, but also working to make sure we don't repeat that action again, and to work on other people to help them not make the same mistake we made. Societal problems often go unnoticed. That's how good people participate in these issues. Educate your friends and family. Ask them, when you hear them making a comment that doesn't sit well with you, would you say this if the other person were in the room? Why'd you say it? I know this is a heavy topic, and human dignity is something that it's important to think about, and it can be kind of difficult to put into practice, but it's important. And I want to end with 2 more quotes on today. In The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin writes that people, quote, are in effect still trapped in a history which they do not understand, and until they understand it, they cannot be released from it. Though he's referring to racism, I believe his timeless words apply to objectification as well. We have this pervasive, toxic societal rule that people objectify other human beings. They strip them of their dignity. We're all made B'Tselem Elohim, and yet sometimes we see them as less than. However, as Rabbi David Wolpe of Sinai Temple in Los Angeles teaches, the beautiful thing about the laws of psychology is once you know the law, they no longer apply to you. We understand how societal rules teach us to neglect other people's dignity. We get that. And now that we have identified that rule, we're no longer beholden to it. Let's spend this next year teaching others about this problem so they won't be beholden to it as well. Gemar Chatima Tova.